Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is Carolyn with Moms for Justice for you. Come on in. Make sure you guys comment where you're from. Anybody from Strongsville, Ohio here tonight? I'm very curious. But I am super excited for this show because we're going to be talking about Steve Shirilla. Again, Father of the Year, the Midnight Milkman is what I like to call him. He is the dad that said, she's just a dumb 18-year-old. And the dad who is still doing interviews in 2026 since the crash. And I got to tell you, every time he does an interview, he is digging his own hole just further and further. It's really unbelievable. But if you don't know this case, then you're probably living in a hole because everybody knows it. There is a movie that came out on Netflix called The Crash. And everybody's talking about it. But if you're new to it, it is the story of Mackenzie Shirilla, who was a, young and dumb girl who, was at a graduation party, a very entitled brat who has a huge history of Snapchats and TikToks and Instagram posts and things like that. She was trying to build a brand for herself. She really thought she was something else, like she was the next big star. And she was dating Dominic Russo, and that relationship was extremely volatile. It was not a healthy relationship. It's one that began at a very young age. There is an age difference between them. It is my understanding that it's at least 2.5, 3 years between them. But beginning her freshman, sophomore year, was already having him sleep over, was already starting to sleep over his house, which he lived in his own house, which is mind-boggling, but I guess at his age that would have been okay. It really is a crazy story. And there's a lot of other kids in the same age group that were involved, that some of them came on the crash and they gave interviews and, boldly, two of them took her side. But after you see all the evidence from this case, it's really hard to believe that anybody would have taken Mackenzie's side, okay? Because what she did is at 5:30 in the morning, she left this small gathering that wasn't really a party. It was just a gathering of a couple kids hanging out. In fact, the homeowner was sleeping already. And the party never really got off to a start, and it, had died down what it was. And, Kenzie woke up from sleeping on the couch and said it was time to go home. And she and her boyfriend, Dominic, left this house, and their friend, Davion Flanagan, decided to go with them. I'm now learning that, and this is new to me, because literally on the last episode, I thought he was still living with Bubba. But apparently, Bubba's family could not have him stay there anymore, so he was staying at Dom's house. But Davion and Bubba had talked about fixing Bubba's truck the next day, and it was already 5:30 in the morning. So it would make a lot of sense that if they were supposed to get together and fix his truck, that Davion would have just stayed there and, taken a nap and taken his shower there because, even the homeowner was sleeping. So it doesn't make much sense unless, and my theory is this, that Davion and Dom were going to hang out some more and go back to the house. And, Dom had a recording studio that Davion thoroughly enjoyed, and together they would write music together at Dom's house. And I think personally, it's just my opinion, but I think that when they were leaving the house that night, that Mackenzie did not like the idea of any focus being off of her and probably had a real attitude, like a tude, you got a major tude. I think she was bossy and really domineering of Dominic. And I don't think she liked anybody, sharing the house with her and Dominic because she was playing house and getting all this money from Dom and living like a queen. And I think, if she would tell him to go left just for the purpose of seeing if he would do it. You know what I mean? I think that she's the type of person that would have told Dominic, jump off a bridge for me, and God forbid you don't do it. It shows you don't love me enough. I think that's the kind of girl she was. So I think she was just being a real butt, and she didn't want Davion to take any attention away from her. And I think that's how the fight ensued. And I think they got into this car together to go home at 5:30, and something happened in that car in terms of an argument of some sort, It didn't even necessarily need to be a screaming match. I think because she has threatened so many times to crash her car and, take out Dom in the past, that she wouldn't need to announce that or threaten that because that would be nothing new, right? So I think she just probably looked at him and got pissed and then just foot down on that gas pedal all the way, nearly 100 miles per hour, slams into a building and, does turn to the left a little bit so that the impact was more great onto Dom and Davion, who was right behind Dom, who was sitting in the passenger seat. Unfortunately, she killed 2 people. You killed 2 people with your rage. There are some people out there that are saying she didn't intend to, though. Look, man, at some point, you need to be responsible for your actions, okay? At the end of the day, if she sat down and was rationally thinking, I'm going to kill these people today, is it possible that she was like, no, I didn't really intend to kill them? It really doesn't matter. Actually, it's a moot point at this point because, you killed 2 people, you got to pay the piper for it, right? So that is my theory as to why she got mad. I think she got mad. So there's that. Now, we're going to talk about Steve Shirilla because he came out with another interview, okay, which is crazy. Who's Steve Shirilla? That's Mackenzie's dad. And Natalie and Steve are her parents, and she also has a sister. I feel terrible for the sister. That's going to be a whole other episode I'm going to do, so stay tuned for that. But I am not going to show her face or anything like that. I'm going to talk about how terrible Mackenzie treats her sister. So there's that. But Steve Shirilla was a media arts teacher at Mary Queen of Peace Catholic School and had this job not for very long. He had worked in, says he won an Emmy. I could not find an Emmy anywhere to be found, but I did find his original website where he just did graphics and ads and things like that and worked for like mostly TV commercials. And he did that. And maybe he just didn't want that kind of life anymore. Like, maybe it was just too hectic and he was winding down and, being older in age at that point, probably said, I'd rather work 9 to 3 p.m. every day as a teacher with my skill set. And the thing is that I don't think Steve really is grasping what has happened here. I really don't. And, I think he's a terrible father. I think Natalie is even worse of a parent. I think she is the epitome of the worst parent. Okay. And I think Steve is just, it's like, shame on you. Shame on you, Steve. You had a responsibility. Wake up. Your wife is a nightmare. She is a sorry excuse for a mother. And I think, you can only play the dumb person for so long. And I think Steve Shirilla is just kind of clueless. I really do. Like, there is a small part of me that feels a little sorry for him because I think he doesn't understand what's happening here. I think he is fighting a losing battle. And the thing is he keeps going on TV and giving interviews. And with each interview, it gets worse for him. Okay. You notice that Natalie does not give interviews, really. I mean, I know there's one out there I heard about, but she really doesn't give a lot of interviews. And I'll say that's probably smart of her because she would be ripped to shreds, But I mean, Steve, he lost his job. He lost his job because he works with children. He worked with children. And how is it that you're a school teacher and, I get it. You're defending your daughter. A lot of parents would try to defend their daughter, but Mackenzie's a hard one to defend. Okay. It's time to, pay the piper. It's time to admit that your daughter is a brat and everything is caught up to her. But anyway, you're a school teacher. Your daughter does this terrible thing. She murders 2 people with a vehicle. And then you go on Netflix's The Crash to give an interview with your crazy boom t-shirt on from that channel, Crime Circus. There's a channel that supports Mackenzie called Crime Circus. And apparently the logo is a Crime Circus logo or something like that. But it doesn't matter. It's distasteful. It says boom on it. I don't care what anybody says. Some people said, when I said it on another video, they were like, I think pointing out his t-shirt is grasping at straws or something like that. No, it's not grasping at straws. It is absolutely an insult to the families that are watching. Crash, boom, bang, anything like that is very triggering to the family of the victims. I just, either he is just stupid or he was purposely jabbing. And I just don't think Steve is somebody that's purposely doing anything. I really don't. I don't think Steve's intention is to say the wrong things, even though he does. You know what I mean? So he gets on this show and he sits there and he talks about the fact, I don't have a problem with you smoking pot. I smoke pot, blah, blah, blah. We see the text messages of him, I don't like my weed to be eaten. Oh my gosh. The text about the vodka, the warm milk, and the behavior and the way his daughter dresses. And he works for a Catholic school, right? Thank you so much for subscribing, Greg. He works for a Catholic school, and his daughter walks around practically naked. And I don't know why he would get on there and say the things he did. I really think he's clueless, guys. I think there's some air in that brain of his. I really do. And for that, I feel a little sorry for him. I do. But anyway, he came out with this latest. Oh, and by the way, Court TV came out with, they're going to be covering a case from last year, and it's titled, Daughter Went Shopping After Thinking She Murdered Both Parents for Throwing Her Out for Evicting Her. Her mom ended up surviving, but take a look at this girl. Take a look at this girl. This is what our youth has become. Steve and Natalie, this could have been you. She tried to kill her parents for giving her tough love and throwing her butt out because she is a brat. Okay. So I'm going to look into this case because it might be an interesting one to cover. I know Court TV just came out with a video on it. It's from April 2025, but I saw it and it reminded me of Mackenzie. And I thought to myself, is this what's happening to our youth? Is this where we're going? I'm not saying Mackenzie could have ever done something like that, but it takes this kind of excess with money and materialism and getting your way and no discipline at all in your home. And, people like Mackenzie could turn to this. I'm afraid for my children, everybody. And my kids are older and I think I'm safe now. I've got a 16 and an 18-year-old. I think I'm safe, but you never know. You never know. I got a gnat in here. So don't mind me if I try to get it's attracted to the lights. Oh boy. All right. Anyway, so if you see it, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm doing a live reaction. I have not seen this video yet. Some of you may have, but Chris Cuomo did an interview with Steve Shirilla, and I have not seen it yet. And I would like to watch it with you, and I'm going to do live reaction with it. I have no clue if he buries himself in this one or not. So we're going to check it out together, and I will comment as we go. Let's go.
Steve Shirilla, thank you for taking the opportunity. You took a big sigh when we first said hello. Where are you right now in terms of your head and your heart?
You know, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm unable to help my daughter personally, and I should have been yelling and screaming what we're going to talk about right from the start. And it's one of the mistakes I made during her thing is that I should have been shouting and saying what I know and what I feel is the truth. And I was advised by her lawyer not to say anything, keep quiet, and it was a mistake.
You got to watch out, parents, because let me tell you something. If you don't nip things in the bud early, it's gonna be too late. You know, I don't know if he's talking specifically about what he could have done with Mackenzie earlier in life, but him just saying anything, I should have, could have, should have, could have, would have. She's at a point now where there is nothing you can do. She's over 18. That is it. Your parenting is what it was. And, you really don't have much you can do. And I feel like there's this desperation of trying to backpedal a little bit by him. And he's like, he's trying too hard. He's trying too hard, and you can't fix this, Steve. You're only making things worse.
No.
Well, all I can do is give you the opportunity and go through what we know and the questions. So let's give people a little bit of context. Life before the crash was what for you, Steve?
Happy. I had my daughter. We were a family, a normal family, nothing. I went to work. I came home. I talked to my daughter. I helped my daughters.
Okay, I think that's disgusting that he allowed Chris to show a picture of his other daughter. That's already a huge mistake. Leave her alone.
Pretty much, a normal family in America. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. I mean, being that I've been vilified, that I'm some horrible parent, that's not necessarily true, and it's unfortunate. So,
what were you doing? What was your occupation?
I was an art teacher at a Catholic school.
And the documentary, just to skip a little bit, after the documentary, is it true that the school put you on leave?
Yeah. They got a bunch of calls from some watchdog website or something, and the school's known about my daughter and how I feel right along for the past 4 years. But they decided to come to some kind of investigation, which I really don't think was much of an investigation. It was just they were just trying to get me out of the limelight. And so they don't seem bad. So I don't know. It's unfortunate how the diocese handled it.
Are you working now?
No, I would be on summer break. I'm on my contract to the end of July. And my understanding is they're not going to re-sign me for the next year, but I wouldn't have re-signed with them anyways after how they've handled this. They've just made matters worse, but by placating to the mob, that's unfortunate for me. So.
Do you think that you'll be able to get another job easily?
I don't know. I haven't tried. I got the summer. We'll see. I might not ever teach again. I'm a good teacher. I'm a passionate teacher. To be canceled by the mob is just sad and disappointing.
Okay, wait, I agree. Listen, I understand that. Like, I don't think he will ever be a teacher again because, these schools, once there's enough, an issue like this with one school, everybody talks and, he's never going to be able to work with kids again. Let me just make note, though, of he has changed dramatically. I've noticed. I see a lot of weight loss here. I see it's like he's aged overnight, and I feel like this is a man trying to be the man of the house and lead his family when he really never had that role his entire life. You know what I'm saying, everybody? Like a man, when you have a family that's a solid unit, the man leads and he runs, he steers the ship. I don't think Steve ever steered the ship. And now he is in front of the entire world pretending like he did, because that is what's expected of a dad and a husband. And he is in no man's land. He doesn't know anything about this. And, again, I do feel bad for him a little bit. I really do. I know some of you don't want to see his face, but, I think he should never work again. In the school system, but I hope he does get a job. I do. I don't think anybody should be, without work. That's not cool, at all. But no way, Jose, should he ever be in the school system again. And he looks terrible. Like he's got no sleep, nothing. And I think if anybody, and this is a good thing. I think out of all the characters in this story, if there's anybody that could turn around and say, you know what, I give up. My daughter was a horrible person, and I am not defending this anymore, it would be him. I actually really believe that there's a chance for him to be like, I'm done. Our daughter messed up, and she's got to pay. I think we might not even be far from that. I just think right now he's doing everything he can to hold his family together.
How often do you get to speak to your daughter?
Quite a bit. We see her twice a month. And we talk to her quite a bit.
How would you describe her disposition and how she's doing?
She's in jail. She's in jail. So she's struggling with that overall, but she's in jail.
No.
Every day is the same day for her, so I don't know. She's surviving.
She's not struggling.
How do you think she's handling herself in this situation and the media?
I think she's handled herself well in the media and stuff. I don't look, she's in jail. I don't know what everybody expects her to be. I don't know what you would expect her to be.
Remorseful.
She's doing the best she can. Yeah.
No, she is not, guys. She is not doing the best she can. Hold on, let me move on through here. He's doing one of his little commercials, so we don't want to hear that, right? Guys, she's not doing the best she can. She's not doing the best she can. She is having sexual liaisons on her tablet. She's taking pictures of herself. She is eating like only the best of the best food she can get her hands on. She is nasty on the phone. We heard her, yes, in jail calls, not in prison calls, but she curses up the wazoo about everybody. She makes fun of people. She's screaming about the lady who's screaming, a cell or two over, who probably has a mental illness and is freaking out. And she's just like, the F-bomb left and right. And her mother is giggling along like they're best buddies. I call them sorority sisters, He talks about, what do you expect her to do? You know what I expect her to do? I expect her to be remorseful and do everything from inside the prison to glorify Dom and Davion. And she's not doing that. All she's doing is talking about herself. It's all me. So again, the dad, he's clueless. And if you're just joining me now, I have not heard this interview yet. I figured I would do it cold turkey for you live, because I just hadn't had time to watch it yet. So I'm doing a live reaction. So I don't know what's coming. I might change some things I feel about what he says. So
depends on the age and stage and what their ambitions are and what their perspective is on what their future is. Do you think your daughter sees a life after this? Does she think she's going to get out?
I believe she sees a future. She's about to take classes, start taking some schooling. It's jail. I'm not in there, so I don't really know how it all really works and how it is for her every day, I can only guess. But I overall, I think she's doing the best she can. That's the best way to put it.
Has she had any trouble inside?
Define trouble. Does
Oh
she?
my gosh.
No
Drama?
No.
Being
there's drama.
solitary?
No.
Steve, why don't you tell him? Why don't you tell him about this caller that called 7 or 8 times? She's exposing her breasts on the tablet, and the other person exposing sex toys. Okay. What about stealing? She's stealing in prison. She's not behaving during the count. She's getting in trouble all the time. It's out there. We can all read the report. So I don't know why he's lying. The best thing he needs to do is just be honest. Just be honest. You know what I mean?
Altering her clothes kind of stuff, or
Yes.
being out of place. They have to be in a certain area at certain times, and sometimes she's out of place. So
she has to dress like a hooker.
I'm not in there, so I can't say for. She's not violent. There's no fighting. It's not like that at Marysville.
What do you want us to know about the allegations made by the ex-inmate who says she was your daughter's lover and that your daughter has girlfriends? What do you make of that?
I don't know anything about that. I'm not feeding that. It's not what I want to be here to talk about. I don't know. I can't speak for that. You can't believe everything you hear.
Let me tell you why I ask. I don't care if your daughter has girlfriends or not. Doesn't matter to me at all. However, if I were her parent, I would know.
It doesn't matter to me. She's in there. That's her life. I can't. Nothing I can say or do is going to change anything she does in there.
You see how he danced around that one? Yeah. I love how he calls him out that, if she had relationships going on or girlfriends, he would know about it. And he just totally danced around that. Hilarious.
Look, she's almost 21 now. She's been in jail for almost 4 years now. I mean, all I can say is she's doing the best she can, and there's nothing I can do or say that's going to alter where she is or at this point.
Let's talk about that. And just so you know, Steve, I don't know what you know about me. I have no agenda here. I'm not here to judge your daughter. That's already been done, right? I want to understand things that were left very open-ended and that are conflicting.
Okay.
However, I will give you the opportunity to deal with judgment. The reason I asked the question about what you know and what you don't is, as a father, and we have kids the same age, aren't you supposed to think that what you say will matter to your daughter and that you should know and you should have some kind of hand in her major decisions?
Yes, of course. But she ultimately makes that decision. I mean, I can just be there to advise and be there for her. And if she's got questions, and help her. I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make it drink, So I was up until 17. I raised a strong, fierce, loyal kid. Who didn't like bullies, who stuck up for her friends. I mean, I thought I was doing a great job. She's got a big heart, and I know as soon as I say that and this goes out there, the trolls in this world are going to crucify me like they've been, which is part of the reason why I wasn't sure about coming on this podcast.
A big heart. So she sends people messages like, "Oh, I'm not talking to you because, you don't have any money. You can't afford what I have." How about calling people fatty, calling people, making a list of people that you want to, I guess, bully or beat up or whatever. I mean, that's somebody with a huge heart, isn't it? Isn't that what a lovely person? What a huge heart she has.
She's got a big heart, and as her father, there is no way that my daughter crashed that car on purpose to hurt Dominic or Davion. It is an absolute story narrated by the prosecution. It's not true. It never has, and there's no evidence, zero evidence to support any of that.
There is evidence that we can discuss if you want. It's interesting. You leave your daughter out of that equation. Do you think there's a chance she crashed into that school to hurt herself?
No, not at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. She loved life.
Your daughter was not suicidal.
Not at all. Not at all.
That's a lie.
We even had somebody do after the crash did a like a suicide test on her or a questionnaire with her, and that person said that she was not suicidal. And if my daughter was suicidal, my wife would know. And if my wife talked with my daughter about everything. My daughter told my wife everything. There's no way she wasn't suicidal before. She's not suicidal after. That is an absolute fabrication. It's a lie.
A big understanding from.
Okay, I want to add a 2 cents to that, if you guys don't mind. I don't think she was suicidal either, at all. I think she's too narcissist to be suicidal. I think anytime she said to Dom in her text messages that I feel ugly and I want to, and that she wanted to take herself out was just for attention. I don't think Mackenzie Shirilla ever was suicidal either. I just want to be clear about that. I think she was raging mad that night or morning, and she drove purposely to hurt her boyfriend and took Davion with them. And I'm sorry, nothing is going to make me say anything different. She was, yes, absolutely. Diane just wrote, she was homicidal, not suicidal. Absolutely. There's nothing suicidal about Mackenzie at all. I do think she suffered from mental illness. I think she had mania. I think she had a manic depressive disorder. Is it depressed? Yeah, depressive disorder. Probably bipolar. She had some attention deficit. Sure. But I think she loved herself way too much to take herself out. So I agree with Steve on that. I do. No way was she suicidal.
People is that when it comes to you and your wife, you were too permissive, too lenient, too nonchalant. In general, what do you make of that? And then we'll pick it apart.
All right. Let me skip through the commercial because it's really annoying. But yeah, great question. Something we all know. We've heard it. If you guys saw my very detailed 2 videos on every single text between Steve and Mackenzie, there was absolutely no supervision at all, no discernment at all in their parenting whatsoever. And I just, I'm curious to see what he's going to say back to this. All right, let's go.
Well, let's talk about people, first of all. If you don't know me and you're not in my life, and how do you say anything about me? How are you judging me without knowing me? Was I lenient on some things? Yes. Was I harder on some things? Yes. I was raising my kid how I felt best at the time that I made decisions. I'm not a bad parent. I picked fights that I felt would help her, and I picked fights that I didn't want to fight with her, and I let her go, and I made her make her own decisions. And she was almost an adult. She's almost 18 at that point. My daughter was a lot like me. I learned things by doing them, and rather than being told, don't touch the stove. I had to go touch the stove to figure out that it was hot, not that I was told that it was hot. It's that kind of an analogy, I guess. If anyone that knows us knows that we weren't doing all that. We were. I don't know. It's laughable that the people think what they think about us, and if you're not in, and I look at it this way: if you're not in my boat, then it really doesn't matter what you think as the people. I mean, anyone that doesn't know me should keep their mouth shut. Personally,
you seem very bothered by it, though, Steve.
I'm a fighter by nature, and if I no one would be happy about this. It does bother me that this is overshadowing what really is going on with my daughter. and what went on during the trial and the bind over trial and the lack of evidence. That's my problem with this. What's happening with me is just smoke and mirrors. What the stuff against my wife is smoke and mirrors. It's nonsense that has nothing to do with how the Cuyahoga County Prosecution's Office failed to prove that my daughter did this with purpose.
These are mitigating circumstances here. Okay. It's important to know about Mackenzie Shirilla and what was going on in her life prior to this crash. And she was a minor for the majority of, well, she was a minor. She had just turned, right? She was turning 18, I believe, right after the crash, but she was a minor. So I'm sorry, Steve and Natalie, but what you did and how you ran your household and how you parented this girl plays a huge role. Why do you think that there are parents now finally being prosecuted for things that their kids did? Now, listen, there are some things that, it's not the parents' fault at all. And I get that. But I'm sorry, the Crumbly case, if you saw the lack of care and lack of responsibility by Jennifer Crumbly about her son, Ethan, who shot up a school, literally was at the school that afternoon and was advised, maybe you should take him home. And she goes, nah, he doesn't need to come home. She took him shooting, bought him firearms. Now, I'm all about the Second Amendment because I believe we have a right to protect ourselves. That's all. Other than that, I don't have an issue with people doing that, but there are certain people that shouldn't have a firearm, and especially kids. You know what I mean? So that's like a whole other subject. However, Steve Shirilla and Natalie, every time that they let her drive away in that car, every time they said, okay, we'll go get you your Starbucks. Yes, I'll go bring you your warm milk. Yes, you can go stay over Dom's. Yes, he could sleep over in your bed, in your room. Every time they did that, it chipped away at this monster. Okay. And it just made her worse. And for him to say that is overshadowing is just the biggest joke. I realize they don't want to be targets. Who wants to be a target in the media? Nobody wants to, right? But unfortunately, your daughter killed 2 people. And did she think possibly she could have died that night? Maybe, but I don't believe she was suicidal. I think she was raging mad. And I think when people are raging mad, they don't give a darn. And they just go as hard and as fast as they can at anything they're doing when they're that mad. But did she actually have the mindset of somebody that wanted to take her life? Heck no. I'm sorry. No.
Prior calculation or intent. That's it, and then.
Well, not to jump around too much, but I will argue to you that part of the reason that the prosecution was able to make that case is because of choices by your daughter's team with what they didn't make the case. They left the THC in her system out of the equation.
Absolutely.
And certainly the prosecution didn't want to argue diminished capacity because they want the hard crime. Mm-hmm. They want the intent, and they had the data. Your counsel ostensibly picked a bench trial.
Yeah, well, no.
We'll talk about.
That's not true. What happened was, me and my wife were not allowed to be in there with her when she made that choice. I told my daughter to do a jury trial. When he asked her, she said jury trial, and he strong-armed her and told her, "You're going against my best judgment." Blah blah blah. And changed
Why?
Her. He felt the judge wouldn't be biased. He thought the judge, who had been sitting on that bench for as many years as she had, would be fair, and that's not what went on.
Why was he afraid of the jury?
He wasn't afraid of the jury. He thought the judge would be a better gauge in this for whatever reason.
Were you aware? Because, after she makes the decision, you can also change the decision before the proceeding begins, that very, very, very few people in your daughter's situation choose a bench trial. And even though statistically judges convict less often, it's because the cases that they do are usually hyper-technical. And my understanding of the pleadings, and the lawyer has been very quiet about their deliberation process, was they thought they could win on the data. So the judge would be a better arbiter of that. And that to me was a gross error.
My understanding, because I wasn't in the court the whole time, the lawyer kept me out of the courtroom. He was going to use me as a witness. I would hope that he looked at the evidence and saw that there was none that pointed to her being a murderer or being felonious assault. He didn't see any evidence, and I'm hoping that's what he saw. But hindsight's 20/20 now. He didn't do anything for her. In fact, at the end of this trial, he told me to throw him under the bus.
The new counsel in their pleadings, at least, are arguing ineffective counsel.
Yeah,
which is common. But I think that there is a basis here that could be argued.
Yes. He didn't put any of her medical records in. He didn't put any of the text messages that would have refuted some of the prosecution's evidence. He didn't do anything other than sit there and play with his pen. And mind you, I've never been in a murder trial. This is all new to me. So I'm not really sure how to gauge it. I didn't have a whole lot of advice from anybody. But
wait, just so that you guys know, just because certain information was not put into the case does not mean the judge wasn't aware of it. It's more like they presented everything they had, and some things were ruled out as being relevant to the case or not necessary to put in. So the judge kind of knew about everything that was there, but at some point you have to take some things and say, okay, well, this is really, like if there had been text messages between Natalie and Mackenzie, which there's none in the FOIA. That doesn't mean there weren't any, but they're not there. So they weren't to be used by any means, right? So he's talking about evidence that had, the attorneys stood up and said, well, we have this and everything. And it was fought against by the prosecution saying that this isn't relevant. So we're not going to use it. And now he's bitter about it. And regarding the bench trial, it is true that when you have a bench trial, a judge is less likely to convict, because they have so much more experience. So much, it is more technical for them. So, and what's crazy is even with that in mind, this case screamed murder to this judge. And now he's like, oh, we shouldn't have had a bench trial. No, how about the evidence is just the evidence? And your daughter needs to be deserved to be convicted of 2 murders of 2 people. I mean, I don't understand why they're still going so hard about this. I mean, she needs to do her time and leave the families alone, because she's going to be a problem in 15 years because they're going to have to go back in there. And I know they will. Of course they will. They're going to always be there. But they already have to deal with parole hearings starting in 15 years, and the noise that's happening now is just so upsetting for the family. And I feel terrible for them. I do.
He did nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only time he did something was in the bindover trial when he was questioning the detective, and he had the detective reeling because the detective had to take a break because he was all exacerbated over it. He asked the detective at one point, "What do you think happened?" The detective's comment was, "I don't know." And I don't know why our lawyer or her lawyer didn't turn to that judge and say, motion to dismiss, because how does the guy who's finding all this evidence, all this hard evidence, not know what happened? Okay.
Did it surprise you that the bindover trial, as you're referring to it, for the people listening and watching, is the legal proceeding where you decide which court it's going to be in, juvenile or adult?
Yes,
and the decision here was made to try her as an adult. That surprised you?
Yes. Yeah.
What?
She was 17 when this happened. It was an accident. There's 4.74 seconds of black box information and nothing else. That's all it is. It's car information. It's nonlinear car information, which doesn't say what was happening in the car, doesn't say what her state of mind was. It doesn't say what talk was going on in the car. It's nothing. They've got 4 seconds of a a minute and a half drive. And that's what they based this whole on. And then miscellaneous speculation on their part. Storytelling. They set a story, and just because they said it, it's evidence. That's what it amounts to. You know, they like
it is evidence.
The judge's summation. She went on and on. Oh, you're hell on wheels. You picked that road. You woke those boys up.
She did.
My daughter didn't do any of that.
How do you know?
It's just not
times.
True. The judge made up a story for her summation, and based on what the prosecution's narrative is, and none of it's in the evidence. It's just not.
She went to that location 7 times in just the days before this crash. 7 times.
There's no hard evidence that says prior content or prior calculation, intent, or purpose. It's just not there. It's not there. And my understanding is you're a lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I've talked to several lawyers, and every single lawyer has said that the prosecution's case was weak. And unfortunately, in Cuyahoga County, binding over, I guess, is you need this much of maybe evidence to get it bound over. My daughter's case should have never left that juvenile court. She should have been charged with two counts of vehicular homicide, and that's it. And that's it. Simple as that.
Well, it's actually statistically, if you look it up, a couple of things. It's easy for anybody to say anything when it's not their case. Hindsight's 20/20.
Yep.
A bind over trial, most juveniles get tried as juveniles. It is the exception that they get bound over into adult court because there's a presumption that kids can be rehabilitated in a way that adults cannot. They did not find that with your daughter. What does that mean to you?
Actually, I have found that anybody over 15, usually nowadays, if it's murder, they're being tried as an adult. And you know what? Good. They need to set it sets an example. Don't mess around, because kids today think they can get away with anything.
They should have. Why? They should have. There was no evidence to support the charges. There's none. There was none.
Liar.
The prosecution came up with that she's a danger to society and blah blah blah, and there was no proof of that. They said that she had no remorse. They never spoke to her. I mean,
so one quick thing, and then we'll keep going about what the evidence was and why. Look, if they had brought in that she was intoxicated with the THC, if they had gone to a jury trial, if she had testified, this may have been a very different situation. However, those decisions weren't made. But just so people know, is that your wife that I'm hearing who's with you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, look, that's totally fine. Tell her I said hello. She is welcome to join. She's welcome to join. I didn't want to box her out, just so you know. I'm welcome. If she wants to talk, she's welcome.
She's sorry. I don't mean to smile or make light of this. She's my producer.
No, I get it.
She doesn't want me to say something that. Okay.
She is free to say whatever she wants, however she wants. And if she wants to join, that's fine by me. I'm just putting it out there, Steve, just to explain who we're hearing.
Well, if she's the producer, then the lighting and the cam sucks. Just want to say. Okay, so what do I want to say about that? The fact that she's there, gosh, I wish she would hop on. Does she hop on in this interview eventually? Because I've not seen this yet. This is the first one for me. But yeah, again, excuses. The evidence is there, guys. There's so much. I have that FOIA request. I've seen every TikTok, every Snapchat, every message, every comment, the bullying, the cold-heartedness of this girl, the drugs, the excess, me, the way she behaved in the hospital right after accepting that offer on her Instagram about being featured and wanting to use her picture. And, you just killed 2 people. Her and her Skims and just, turning on her phone with her big glass bongs, and just, sticking her face with the music like she was a pressure cooker ready to go off. And the parents knew that. It was right there for everybody to see. And even everybody but Bubba and Rosie have said that she was crazy. She was out of her mind. She was a crazy driver. I have a text that I shared the other day between her and Rosie where she said, I love to drive fast. It calms me down. I mean, and so people were telling her, I don't want to drive with you. I don't. And that was her answer to that. Well, I like it. So I don't know how he can sit there and say that there was no evidence. There was so much evidence. And then we have no skid marks, no attempt to stop that car. We have the black box. We have previous threats to Dom. We have, that guy was being called, what's his name, Hinge or whatever. He was called to go pick up Dom because Dom was afraid to be in the car with her. We saw the video taken on Dom's phone where she's saying, threatening him that she's going to break into the house. She threatened to key his car. I mean, she was starting to dive into the world of like an OnlyFans kind of world. Now, there is no confirmation as of right now that she was on OnlyFans, but I do know she had a Fans Mine account and she was, wheeling and dealing with prospective clients to meet up for money for sexual activities involving her feet. This girl was a pressure cooker or like a Coca-Cola bottle that you were shaking and it was just about ready to explode. I'm convinced that he is convincing himself that these things are not real and that his daughter's innocent.
Let's go back to you as a parent because, we're not in a rush here. So,
Okay.
the allegation was, okay, you did it your way. 17-year-old living outside the house with a 20-year-old, unusual. 17-year-old gets in trouble at school, known as a bully. You don't seem to care. Those are the suggestions about her. They sicken you. Why?
Because it's not true. She wasn't a bully. She wasn't a bully. She stuck up for herself. She stuck up for her friends. Period. That's it. She wasn't a bully. That is just lies, and it's a lie. I can't even. It's frustrating to hear it because I can't prove it, and you can't ask her because she's sitting in jail.
Well, look, she's welcome to come on whenever she wants.
But it's just not true. It's half of a story or part of a story, or it's not completely true.
Were you aware?
I hear her. Do you guys hear Natalie's voice? I hear her talking in the background. Do you guys hear her? I do. Also, keep in mind, when Mackenzie was 15, he was 18. I believe, though, that they started dating when she was 14. So still 14, 17, I mean, and moving in with him. Like, who does that? A parent who doesn't give a crap. That is what that is.
Were you aware of what was said in the documentary from the school experiences of how she was described by some people, and where do you think that came from?
I can't explain it. Look, was she an angel? No. Did she have a problem with authority sometimes? I believe when she felt she was being unjustly treated, she stuck up for herself. That's the simple fact. And the documentary, that documentary, they weren't necessarily honest with us and what they were going to use and how they were going to portray us in that documentary. Some of my comments, which all my comments were true. Anything I said, I meant. But they were part of a longer dialogue. They were part more of a, it wasn't just, I just didn't spew that statement.
I understand.
There was a reason that statement came out. Okay.
Well, this is unedited. It will air in full. Okay. Just as it is, which is why I wanted to explain your wife's voice, just so people know. The documentary, something that I keep hearing, and I'll be honest, it didn't register with me when I saw the documentary. As you can see by what I'm wearing, I don't think that much about clothing. But you wore a T-shirt that said
did.
"Boom"
I did.
in
I did.
a documentary about a car crash.
Okay.
No. Well, I wore
Yep.
a shirt that represented a YouTuber called Drip Drop from Crime Circus. And this guy or this person on this
Dumb
YouTuber
channel.
has been supporting my daughter right from almost from day one. He puts posts up all the time saying that she's been mistreated and there was a lack of there was an injustice involved, and he puts all kind of stuff out there. He's been an advocate for the past 3.5 years. So it was my way of saying thanks. It had nothing to do with the accident. It had nothing to do with the boy's death. And if it's me being colorblind or insensitive, that's not what I was doing. I was I wanted to shout out to this guy or this kid or this person saying thank you. Because this guy is about 6 months after the trial, he posted 4 or 5 videos. They were interviews with the detective from Strongsville and the Flanagans and some of the friends of Dominic's and Dominic's mom and Dominic's brother. And they were not in discovery. They were not in any of the discovery. They were not there. Okay.
So he wears this shirt to put on a pedestal some weird guy named Drip Drop who dresses like a weird clown and supports his daughter, but no discernment about what is on the shirt and how that is going to affect the families of his victims.
Okay. And all of a sudden we see these interviews, and in the interviews, all of them said that she has a problem passing out, or there's a problem. She has some kind of passing out problem, and the detective ignored it. And at some point, Dom's mother says to the detective, "No one's going to see this, right?" And the detective says, "No, I'm not putting these in evidence." That is on the Crime Circus. There's 4 or 5, maybe 6 videos that were either leaked or leaked to him, or the detective put them in after the fact, thinking nobody was going to look at them because the trial was over. So,
well, but there was also nothing offered by counsel in the defense case in chief about your daughter having POTS in a dispositive way from a prior diagnosis.
Right.
Yes.
You could have presented a doctor. You could have had a doctor come and talk about her history of passing out and that this is she's got documented history. There was nothing like that. Nothing.
Yes.
Which made it look like an article of convenience.
I know that. I don't know why Jim McDonald did that. I have no idea. I don't know what his plan was. This lawyer.
Well, is the answer, Steve, that he did it because there is no prior proof of her having POTS?
There is prior proof. We have. I witnessed it. My wife witnessed this. She's got the medical documents we gave him had it in there. The people in those 5 interviews said something.
Okay, I'm going to clear something up right now, y'all. Okay. POTS is no different than something many of us have. Okay. Now, I have always been, when I was in high school, 20s and 30s, I've always been on the thin side. I've always had low blood pressure. All it is, guys, is for some people, and it's a large percentage of America, is you're laying down and you get up a little too fast and you stand up and you feel a little woozy. That's all it is. Okay, that is all it is. It's not that big of a deal. I don't even think, look, I have that. Is there anything documented, okay, on my medical report for that? No, it's not, because it's not a problem. It's not a problem for me. And they just invented this and said, oh, well, sometimes she gets dizzy when she gets up. Well, yeah, well, so does half of America. But they're not passing out behind the wheel.
Did you give him any documents from a medical or clinician that said she is diagnosed with POTS?
Exactly.
Yes. And the police
from after or from before?
Before, during the binder, Jim McDonald gave us the access to all the discovery, the discovery portals for Cuyahoga County, and my wife, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-laws, we all went through that stuff night and day, and so we had it in the interviews that were leaked on Crime Circus weren't in there. We gave him all kind of files. The detective only got her medical records from the day of the accident forward. He never went and got from back behind. So,
and you're saying that medical records from before the date of the incident?
Absolutely.
And can you help us understand in what context did a doctor or any clinician ever diagnose your daughter with POTS, which for the audience is, again, a blood pressure related, heart related tachycardia, which can cause dizziness?
It's in here. Let me. It's in the detective's notes too. He knew
here,
about
honey. Okay. And I don't think I think everybody on this chat right now has experienced it at least once in their life. And they're grasping at straws. She is a small girl. But yeah, I see people that, well, she, especially it would hit me the hardest when I used to drink and party back in my 20s. It would hit me the hardest when I'd get out of bed the morning after drinking. And this girl is constantly doing stuff. So they're just inventing this. It is a thing. It is a thing that most people have experienced. It's not a long going problem. No, I'm sure like that's what they were looking for. Like on a folder, on all her medical folders, to have some sort of alert sticker. It's saying right at the top, suffers from POTS, No, just because you get dizzy sometimes does not mean that you're going to be diagnosed a disorder. And that's why I don't think they were able to find anybody, because they never had problems with her, like maybe, going into the doctor for that exact problem and having it documented. There's probably is no documentation.
Posterior orthostatic
tachycardia,
which is
what it means is that those are fancy Greek words for that when you're in a standing position and go from sitting or vice versa.
It's not just a standing thing. It's
right.
Not just,
it's when there's a movement. When there's a movement in posture,
right.
Orthostatic means a change from being straight.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood pressure can go up or down and give you dizziness. Yes. So there are two questions. You're saying one, the answer to the first one is yes, people knew she had it before this, which raises the question, then why was she allowed to drive?
You can drive with it. It's like epilepsy. There's not a, she was doing things to kind of control it when things happen. Water, salt pills. But that's what was going on. We were never told. No doctor says she can't drive. It wasn't an issue, even though the prosecution turned it into something.
Plus, she's in a sitting position going at a normal speed just a couple minutes before she makes that turn onto that final runway to death. She's doing just fine. And there is, you're in a sitting position, you're upright. There's no you guys know what I mean.
Well, the prosecution didn't deal with it because that's not part of their case, that this happened because of POTS, because they didn't want it to be an accident. Their case is it was intentional.
But it wasn't.
Now, when you say that with such conviction, is that because your daughter has ever explained to you or your wife that something happened in the car?
No, she does not remember. That has been her story from day one. There's no memory of it. And I'm telling you, I know my daughter does not like pain. She would never, ever hurt herself intentionally. It's just not. I know my daughter. I've known that kid all her life. I know when my daughter lies. I just know my daughter. Do you know your children? I mean, can you tell when your children are telling lies?
Wow.
Or aren't being honest with you? Look.
I'd like to think so.
Okay. Well, that's how I am. I believe my daughter is painfully honest. And she's, my wife just said she's painfully honest.
Has she ever passed out before and had no recollection of anything that happened?
Natalie.
Passed out and didn't remember? No. Passed out and been in an accident? At least one time. Okay, I can't speak for her memory loss. I wasn't. So
she was driving once and had an episode and had a car accident.
No.
Oh,
she'd only been driving for a year.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, she's passed out. She's had a couple episodes here at the house. She's had them with her friends. And all her friends have said it happens at school. I mean, at Dom's house. I mean. So, I mean, it happens. And I do not know why Jim McDonald, her lawyer, didn't use it. I don't understand. I'm dumbfounded why that lawyer chose not to do anything other than click his pen and sit at that.
Because if they had used it, the defense would have discredited it right away. I mean, if the defense used it, the prosecution would have came up and proved that it only happens when you get up from a laying position or a sudden movement. And it just doesn't apply here. And it probably would have even been thrown out as something that can't even be asked. So it doesn't matter anyway.
At dusk.
And when you talked to him and said, "Where's the pot stuff?" What did he say?
He said this is his words.
No, it was at the end of the trial. I didn't even know he didn't turn it in.
He didn't even turn it in. He told us after one of the dates that the judge is not buying it. That was his word. The judge is not buying it. That was his.
She has a diagnosis.
That she has a diagnosis. That was his description to me. And if I would, in my hindsight right now, if I'd have known, I would have fired him immediately. Okay.
I didn't know he didn't turn that in until after.
Yeah, we didn't know he didn't turn stuff into after the fact. So I mean, there's some things we didn't know. I mean, are we bad parents? No. Are we uninformed parents of a child that was on trial for murder? Yeah. What
does that mean?
She had one day. She had 1 day for defense. He did 1 day, and he didn't do much during her trial. I mean, it just wasn't there. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. In my opinion, this man should never be allowed in a courtroom again. I mean, it's just unfortunate that he did nothing for her. I mean, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. 2020 after this fact, what did he do? So I mean, he did nothing for her.
If there is a legitimate basis for prior knowledge and existence of a diagnosis of POTS, that should have been in the evidence, and that's something that you guys should make sure is in the appeal, because obviously the judge had every reasonable basis not to buy it because she didn't have it in front of her in a way that seemed to be demonstrated before the fact.
That is in her.
It doesn't matter who represented her. It could have been the guy they had. It could have been somebody else. And if they had lost, he would have said that he was incompetent.
Post-conviction appeals now. It's in the post.
Right. No, I know that because I've read the pleadings. But the other thing that the lawyer left on the table, so to speak, is the intoxication. No alcohol. Okay. THC. Yes. Limit. Tough to know. They messed with the sample. They didn't preserve it, but we all know it was in her system. It wasn't argued as diminished capacity.
That is absolutely true.
The idea of why she was taking so much drugs, this is what you get hammered for in the documentary, where you were like, yeah, I know she smoked a lot of weed. I was okay with it. Do you still feel that way?
I knew she was smoking weed. I didn't know she was making videos and in the car. That's the stuff I found out after the fact.
That is a lie, because I know at least Natalie knew. Okay. And Natalie has access. I heard, this might be a rumor, guys. I don't know. I heard that the Shirillas, because they're struggling financially, and this is a rumor, so I'm speculating right now, but I have heard and read around town that they are running an OnlyFans site for her. I don't know if that's true or not. That's allegedly. Let me be clear about that. But I heard something about them making some money by, maybe some old videos she had from an old account. But I don't know anyone who's been able to confirm that she has an OnlyFans account. Do we know that? I don't know. That could just be a rumor, but it is going around. And I'm dying to find out if it's true so I can confirm it. But if anybody knows anything about that, let me know. And also, always email me if you have some information or you want to come on the show and you know somebody related to this case, or any case I do for that matter. momsforjusticenow@gmail.com to email me. And again, real quick, make sure you guys are smashing that like button and you subscribe to the channel. I so appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here with me.
Do you blame yourself for your daughter's behavior?
Do I blame myself? Could I have advised her better? Sure. Do I think it would have made any difference? I don't know. I'm sorry. makes me, I don't have a problem with the marijuana use. I'm sorry. I just don't. It's a battle that I would never win. How am I stopping her? Was I going to lock her in her room and never let her out of the room?
Yeah. What you're going to do is you see your daughter taking drugs and behaving the way she does. And you say, give me your keys, and you lock them into a safe. You take her phone away. I highly doubt she was paying for her phone. Now, eventually Dom might have paid for it, but you know what? If they don't want to follow your rules under your house, your roof, you go, bye, see you later. But then at that point, we would have had some problems with the police because she's a minor and he wasn't at one point, right? I mean, he eventually is as a grown adult. And you would have had every right to send the police to go get her and bring her back. And then she's forced to follow your rules. You have her keys. You have her phone. She doesn't get to stay out past a certain point. I mean, there are so many things this guy could have done. And his thing, what could I do? What could I do? Yeah, there's a lot you could have done. And you had this window of time, 14, 15, 16 years old, are precious years to mold and shape your teenager, and you did not take advantage of that.
I'm supposed to go with her everywhere she goes. Could I took the car away? Could I there's just so many factors that had nothing to do with it.
I'm judging Steve. I'm not judging you or your wife, but I don't know how much of the audience are parents, but you and I both know, as does your wife, the answer to every suggestion you just made is yes. That's what we do. I told you not to drink with your friends. You drank. Now you're not going out. Oh, you did it again. Now you can't drive. Oh, you did it again. Now you're not going anywhere for a week.
We have grounded her. And
that's why parenting can suck. That's why we're not their friends.
I agree. Totally agree.
Love that.
I've taken her door off her room. I've taken I've taken her phone, all her electronics. I mean, this kid is not unpunished. Okay. Did we dote on our daughter? Yeah. Did I give her what I could? Yes. I gave her things I didn't get when I was a kid. That's just me being a parent. I love my kid.
Go ahead.
For the record, I just want to admit I'm not a perfect parent either. And I've messed up. I have messed up. And I have given my children a lot, like silver platter a lot. And I beat myself up all the time. But there is a line. And Mackenzie went way beyond that line. Okay? So I don't want to be too judgmental here because we as parents have messed up big time. We all have. This is just a whole other arena, a whole other level. And I just had to say that.
There was not a problem with her until this accident and how it got blown out of proportion and how everything now is so blown out of proportion. Mind you.
So it's not a problem until you murder two people.
Nothing that I'm doing or saying, nothing my wife has said, has anything to do with the prosecution not having any evidence to support their charges. That's it. Okay. It's just smoke and mirrors after the trial. Anything that, we're terrible parents. Oh, we entitled her. It has nothing to do. Me not caring that she was smoking marijuana with her boyfriend and her friends has nothing to do with that accident. It has nothing to do with it.
Do you think the documentary filmmakers had an agenda? Do you think that they were out?
I believe they did. I believe they misrepresented themselves when they spoke to us. I believe they came in with a set idea of who my daughter was and who we are. And I also feel, though, once they started talking to us, I think we gave them other stuff to look at. But in the end, their editor and the way they produced it went against what they said to us. And the families, my understanding is the families had editing control during this documentary because they were able to view it prior to it hitting the air. And my understanding, and we weren't allowed. Yeah, we weren't allowed. So, like I said, I believe they had an agenda and they did it. And that was a mistake on our part because we believed that they wanted to be an unbiased, fair platform for us to give our story out. And if they would have used the 3 days they interviewed us stuff, I think there would have been a different light on that documentary. It would have looked different. There would have cast some more light on what the prosecution has and does not have, and the narrative that they put out is just that, a story.
You have what they have, and you have the narrative. We'll put that in two pieces. The first
Let me
point.
ask you this question before you go. What do you think they have as evidence?
Okay, here's the problem for the defense with this case. There is an unusual amount of objective data about what happened after that right turn was made and until the car struck the sign.
That's right.
Actually, no, that's not. Hold on, that's not true.
Steve, let me explain why I say it.
Let me explain because I've looked at all this evidence. They got her turning. They got her turning on the road, the right turn,
Yes.
Blinker, blah blah blah. Right?
Yes.
We agree.
Nice and slow.
Nice and slow, like a normal. Okay. The road is a cut through. In Strong's order, it's a known cut through. The detectives, even in their notes, state as much. Okay, it is a cut through. Now there is no evidence from just after the turn to 4.74 seconds prior to that car hitting that wall. There's nothing. There is absolutely zero evidence. There's no black box information. There's no cabin recorder. There's nothing. And mind you, I'm not saying Potts is the reason for it. I'm not saying the car had an issue. I'm not saying the boys did anything. I don't know. I have no idea what happened in that car. And if I don't have any idea, nobody does. And
I understand. Now, the problem with that in terms of the judge is I don't remember anything from Mackenzie. If Mackenzie gets on the stand and remembers everything and tells any other kind of explanation for what happened in the car, this may have been different.
Yeah,
but her saying, I don't remember anything, is a suspicious answer to people in my business.
I think it's an honest
It
answer.
may be.
At any time, she could have said,
maybe.
Dominic attacked me in the car. Devion attacked me in the car.
That's true.
She could have done that. She could have threw both of those kids under the bus. Okay. And I'm not saying that happened. What I'm saying is there are many possibilities that could have happened from that turn to 4.74 seconds when that black box turned on.
Yes.
And that black box information is nonlinear. It doesn't record. It records bop, 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 bop. Okay. And we had a car expert look at it, and he says, well, maybe she could break at this point. She may have broken between the 2 points. And our lawyer, her lawyer, had that information too and chose not to use it. Again, I do not know why the lawyer chose not to use what resources and what information we did have.
Understand?
Yeah, so we're missing information. Sure, we're missing some information, but what we do have is overwhelmingly stacked against Mackenzie. Okay, there is so overwhelming that it leaves absolutely no doubt on who she is as a human being, the threats that were made just before, the 5 seconds. Yeah, it doesn't kick in until 5 seconds before. When it starts reaching a certain level or there's a certain jerking movement is when I believe the black box begins recording. But at the end of the day, there is absolutely no skid marks, nothing. And we saw the video ourselves. That car was intending to go that speed right into that wall. We know it's not Potts. That is pretty much impossible. So I don't ever want to hear about the Potts excuse again. It's impossible, okay? Because she was driving and making the right-hand turn and was just fine. And there was no sudden laying down, sitting back up. It's not like she's going to be laying down while she's driving and then sit back up, abruptly and get dizzy. It's not going to happen. So the Potts is out of the question, right? The only explanation comes from the overwhelming evidence that she was a nasty, entitled girlfriend to Dominic and was picking fights with him all the time and threatening him and threatening to crash her car along with all her other friends. Pretty much coming forward and saying that she's an absolute lunatic behind the wheel. It's getting pathetic at this point. And I feel sorry for him because he's doing everything he can to not only to protect his daughter, but you can hear and the scenario, that setup he's got going on right now. He's got his wife sitting right across from him who's pretty much runs runs the household, telling him what to do. And he's like a little whipping boy right now. You could see it. You could hear it. You could hear her talking to him. And he's like, it's pathetic. It's really sad.
Dan, I understand what you're saying. This is why I answered that they have data. Okay. You're right about the EDR. Why? That's the way an EDR works, is that after there is an impact, it keeps only that small window of data.
What happened? My understanding of what happened is the car was coming down the road at a good clip. I can't explain the speed. Nobody's going to be able to explain the speed because nobody alive other than my daughter was in that car, is alive now. Okay. And again, the boy, let me say this because I'm going to get nailed for this.
Don't worry about the reaction. Worry about the authenticity of the statement.
Okay.
That's all that you control.
I feel for those two boys. I'm heartbroken for both two boys. And if I can give my life, like I've said right from the start, I gladly give my life for those two boys to be here today. Okay. I've never been more torn during an event. How do I feel grief and remorse and pain for the families and for the two boys? How do I do that? And then feel happy for my daughter because she's alive. My daughter's lucky to be alive. And I know people are going to go, good. Okay. Look, my daughter's lucky to be alive. She's lucky to be walking. She's lucky not to be a vegetable.
I agree.
Okay. She's lucky. She's the luckiest.
I agree.
And she struggles with that. But I'm torn. It's horrible. It's a gut-wrenching feeling I have every time it comes up. And that's all I've been thinking about for 4 years.
I agree that actually what he just said, I do think he's being very authentic to what he's saying. I think he truly, truly believes this.
And now I have to think about my daughter being unjustly charged. And then every time I open my mouth and say it and point to where it is, I get people questioning, oh, that's a lie. Oh, you're making that up. Why didn't your lawyer use it? Look, if you want to know why the lawyer didn't do it, you need to talk to the lawyer. The lawyer, in hindsight, is a terrible lawyer. And he shouldn't have it. He should not be able to practice law ever again, in my opinion, after what he did to my daughter.
I understand, and you're entitled to it. Just to close the loop on this, okay? I have a lot of experience, obviously, almost 30 years, and watching the evolution of event data recorders. That's why I say EDR. EDR is event data recorder.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Here's what she had that made it compelling about intent. And you don't have to agree with this. I don't have to.
I'm not going to, because I kind of feel what you're going to say, but I disagree with it because it.
So okay, go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
I'm here for your answers and opinions, not my own. Go ahead. Why don't you like the assumption that all the data they had indicated a constant acceleration?
I can't explain the constant. There's a picture with her slipper on the gas pedal stuck underneath the brake. Could have been the car. The car has a history. Toyota's cars like that have a history of that gas pedal accelerating. Okay, mind you, I'm not saying that's what happened. I don't know. What I'm saying, it's a possibility. And if it's a possibility, how do you rule it out that it wasn't? You got that. My understanding is that the car was coming down the road at a good clip. The car was out of control at some point. The car thought it was flipping over, and the black box turned on. This is prior to the crash. This is prior to it hitting the sign or hitting the wall. The black box turned on. The car thought it was flipping over. There was a steering wheel right to left or something. I don't have the right. It went the right to the left to the right, something like that. And then both side airbags deployed prior to that car hitting that sign. And I don't know if anybody knows what a side airbag explodes like. It's not like I'm in a pillow fight at a sorority house. It's not like poof. These are explosions. And then there's powder everywhere. And mind you, I'm not saying that's the cause. She wouldn't be able to see where she was going anywhere. Now, this may be a folly of things that went on. It may have been medical. It may have been the boys. It may have been.
Oh my gosh.
My understanding is the boys and her had taken shrooms that night, which I had no idea about after the fact. Yeah, my understanding is the boys had shrooms in it, but it could have been anything. I don't know. I can't say, well, it's most certainly pots, or it's most certainly the car, or it's most certainly the boys, or, there's no evidence to put a finger on it. And if you can't say that this is what happened, then how are you charging her? How are you saying, oh, now, sorry, one more thing. In the documentary, in between the reflection videos and Tim Troop walking down the hall all handsome and stuff, he's heard saying, we looked at everything and ruled it out.
Thanks
so
for
it's
subscribing.
So we ruled everything out. And I'd like to know what information and what evidence they actually used to rule everything else that could have happened. So that's just him talking. That's him talking and saying, look, I'm lazy. We just want it to be murder. It's like the analogy is here. The wife dies, the husband did it. That's it. That's the analogy that's going on here. There's no evidence of why it happened. There's no evidence of why. There will never be any evidence of why. And that's the point that needs to be taken here. That black box information is about the car. There
is so much evidence as to why. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I mean, I've looked at the text messages between her and Dom. And I looked at, and by the way, I'm going to be doing a video on Dom and Dom's mother and Mackenzie's text messages. They're very, very interesting. There's this progression of them talking right after the killing of Dom and Davion. And, it progresses where you could see that there is like this guilty conscience coming out from Mackenzie when she's talking to Dom's mom. It's actually, and as time goes on, you can see that Dom's mom is starting to be like questioning her a little bit, and then starts to be, you could actually feel the suspicion as you're reading these text messages. It's very interesting. I will definitely do a whole video on that soon.
Explain acceleration. I can't explain why the pedal was down. Could it have been the slipper stuck on the pedal? Could it have been the car? Yeah, it's just as likely as she did it on purpose. And there's no evidence of purpose. And speeding is not a precursor to murder. It's not. Sorry. It's recklessness. It's reckless. That's why it should have been vehicular homicide, or if worse, reckless vehicular homicide in the juvenile court, which is what our lawyer said it should have been. The one time that's what he said. He was dumbfounded when they bound it over.
All right, let's look at the other side, right? Because there are two sides, at least, in every trial, which is why they're so compelling. Yeah. You have two invested storylines. The narrative of the why comes into the relationship between Dom and your daughter and perceived threats, et cetera. And there were other texts.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry. I got to cut you off. That's a lie. That is a lie.
How am I lying?
Volatile is not the right word. That is harsh. These kids fought and they broke up and they got back together. That was their MO. They weren't fighting. This wasn't a volatile relationship. They were never, ever, ever going to break up. They were talking about getting married. They were talking about a life. They were buying furniture for that house. They were making a life for themselves. Period.
He was trying to leave her. He did not want to put up with her crap anymore. There are multiple text messages where he's saying, Mackenzie, I can't do this anymore. I love you, but we need to move on. I don't know what he's talking about right now.
Look, this has been thrown on me. They were not breaking up. And anyone who says that, sorry, that is untrue. That is a lie, and that is a narrative that the prosecution needed to go to put my daughter in a bad light, to make it seem like she had a thing against this kid. Because if she was going to break up with this kid, she would have told my wife, and that never happened.
Oh, she wasn't going to break up with him because she had the mindset of, if I can't have him, nobody will, and that is why he's not here now.
Okay, Steve, I'm telling you what the prosecution's case was.
The prosecution's case is based on lies and
all right,
narrative.
That's your opinion. What I'm saying is that's what the trial is for.
I think it's fact. I think it's fact because you can't get.
Well, if it were a fact, you got to remember, I'm a lawyer, right? Yeah, if it were a fact that they lied, then she would not be in prison.
Exactly.
So it is your opinion that they lied.
Unless there's a fix or a conspiracy with Nancy Margaret Russo, who shares the same last name as
but they're not related. Steve, they're not related.
They're not blood related. There's a relationship. My understanding is that Christine Russo is in her court all the time. They have a working relationship. The Russo family's big. This is a fix.
Oh no, here we go.
Do you have any proof that they knew each other?
Hey, I have as much proof that it's a fix and that the judge is dirty or incompetent as they do that my daughter did this with purpose. all I have to do is say it, so it's true, right? That's what the prosecution did. Well,
no, what the prosecution did was show evidence. They showed the text messages. They showed forensic vehicle examinations. They showed the black box. They showed, all the. Oh, I can't believe what this guy is saying. I can't believe it. Like, people don't just convict you of murder with no evidence. There is evidence here. He needs to just accept that his daughter did this, and he needs to say, you know what, I'm wrong. Ask for forgiveness. Tell his daughter that she needs to, do better in life, and you love her and you'll be here for her, but she needs to admit what she did and just come on, people.
They did.
No, they have standards in two cases, right? The charging is probable cause, very low. Lowest standard we have. Probable cause basically means it's a 50-50. So charging is a low bar. That's why you can indict a ham sandwich.
Oh, wow.
This is not about possibility. It's about probabilities. That's what beyond a reasonable doubt means.
Well, there's a lot of reasonable doubt that was ignored.
So let's talk about why. What the judge saw, assuming the judge isn't dirty, and again, there was an appeal that was rejected, and then the Supreme Court didn't take up the case.
To me, Cuyahoga County's, like, I can't speak for an appellate court that brings up an illegal procedure in a trial, and all they do is slap the prosecutor's hand. The prosecutor illegally changed the coroner's report from accidental to homicide in between the bind over and the thing. And the appellate court brought attention to this and then just went, oh, don't do it again. There's so much wrong with how this was handled, how it was brought to trial. I'm sorry. Nobody, no lawyer, no person is ever going to make me believe that my daughter did this on purpose. Show me that evidence. And if you're going to say the black box says she did it with purpose, that is speculation.
Steve, I haven't said it because you haven't let me say anything, but that's okay. I understand why you're so upset about this, and you should be. I can't even imagine how I would be, and I got 3 kids, and they're all driving. So
yeah, and for the record, I believe that no parent wants to believe that their kid did this on purpose, and I think they're just believing Mackenzie. But you know what? Deep down inside, there's got to be something tugging at him. Your kid. Come on, we all saw the way she was. Your kid. There's got to be something in him that's telling him that it's possible that she did this. At least possible. The fact he's not even giving us that with everything we know, and we're perfect strangers to this girl and have heard the things, the way she talks and all that. It's unbelievable to me to think that he doesn't go to bed at night and have a second thought about it. You know what I mean?
Here's what I'm just trying to explain for the benefit of the audience to flesh out the issues. The judge was presented with evidence that the car went from a very casual turn of a corner to 100 miles an hour. There were no skid marks before a known intersection.
Oh, there is actually skid marks. There are actually skid marks.
Not in the trial record. Not in the trial record. In the trial record, they presented evidence.
It's on the body cam footage of the police.
But I'm saying that.
Okay, so then why didn't you show that? If there was any skid marks, it would have come out. Right? He's seeing things.
They don't see any marks. This is what the judges said, right?
Again, my take on that is that the judge had a relationship with the Russo family, and that is why that judge made her decision on day one. She did nothing but open mail and
Steve, the problem with a trial or the blessing of a trial, depending on how you look at it, is we only know what you can show. And what they showed was this car went from slow to very fast.
Why?
With no real turns through a sign and into a building.
Why?
But that was all stated there and not countered by your case.
That is why the lawyer.
What's the skid mark?
There. I don't know if you can see. There's the skid marks right there. That's in the discovery, right?
Right.
That's from the body cam footage. So look, I can't explain the speed. Kids being kids, I can't explain. Was it the car, or was it the boys, or was it her? There's four
But
possibilities.
none of the data suggests anything happened with the car. And there's not even a suggestion of any real braking.
Well, you don't know that because there's no information from 4.74 seconds back to that turn.
Right. But that's a lot of time, by the way.
4 seconds, that's 100 feet or
yes,
less.
but I'm saying 4 seconds. No. 4 seconds is a long time.
Listen,
A fat guy can run a 40-yard dash in about 4.7 seconds. You know what I'm saying? That's a long time, 4.7 seconds.
I don't know.
Going at that rate of speed of acceleration.
Not in a half a mile road. It's not. That's
all I'm saying, Steve. Again, I'm not here to make the case. I'm here to test the case, and I'm just telling you.
I'm arguing that your data and what you're using as data is not completely reliable.
I'm just using what was presented at trial.
I know what was presented at trial, and that's what I'm having fault with, and that's why I have fault with the lawyer. That's why we are making an appeal. That's why we'll never stop fighting this, because something is wrong. Hey, this is 4 years, and this is still going on. There's something fundamentally wrong with how my daughter was tried, and I don't care what's in the trial transcripts. I don't know what my lawyer was doing, or her lawyer, not my lawyer. I don't know what he was doing. I have no idea. It makes no sense to me. And to have a sitting judge who's been in the trial on that bench for as long as she has, not to be able to decipher fact from fiction. Okay. Her summation, everything she said has no evidence whatsoever. There's no support in the evidence whatsoever. It's just not there. In fact, there are people that even said that.
All right, let me just say this. Skid marks are very personal to the car that made them. Okay? So the question I have for Steve, if he can ever answer it, is did the skid marks come from a 2018 Toyota Camry? Because there are many skid marks, faded, some fresher, all over the roads every day. We see them every day. And in different directions as well. So what I think happened here is Natalie and Steve are just grasping at straws, looked at the same footage that I have from the FOIA request and, watched each video of the day that it happened and looked for a couple marks and is trying to say that it's hers, and it's not. And let me tell you something. If they were able to prove it came from a 2018 Camry, that would have been admissible in court. And there is nothing like that at all. And that doesn't mean that they have a bad lawyer. It just means there were no skid marks from a 2018 Camry. Just want to say
Two things didn't happen. Okay. I don't get it. I don't get how a sitting judge who's supposed to know the law and understand the law come up with that kind of summation. This is personal. Her submission was personal. It wasn't legal. It wasn't black and white. It was personal. And
if anything, it would have made her more careful, this judge, because she knew who Christine Russo was. It would make her more careful and double check that she is absolutely sure about her ruling.
the way she interrupted my wife when my wife was pleading for my daughter's
life
or pleading for my daughter. That's what a mother should do. And to have my wife vilified for saying, look, give mercy to my kid is wrong. And look, this case is wrong from top to bottom. The way they arrested her, how they arrested her, from the detective in Strongsville omitting evidence in interviews, from the prosecution making up a narrative and finding ways to make her look bad. And when all the evidence they have, any evidence, is 4.74 seconds of nonlinear black box information. That's it. And she turned on the road. That's it. That is the only evidence they have, and that is car information. Nobody was in the car. You weren't in the car. I wasn't in the car. I'm not saying this, and this. What I'm saying is something happened in that car prior to 4.74 seconds.
Yeah.
Remember,
and I don't know
the reason you don't know is because your daughter says she doesn't recall.
Well,
that's why we don't know. That's why we have to piece it together. Because the only person who can tell the story says there's nothing to say.
So I should go tell my daughter, hey, remember something, and say Dominic Russo and Davian Flanagan.
I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to
heard
do
what I'm
that.
saying. I'm hypothetically speaking here. So nobody believes my daughter. She had a femur broken. She had a fibula broken. She had broken ribs. She had lacerated spleen, liver. Both carotid arteries are damaged. She had bruises all over her face. I don't know how this kid survived. She got hit in the head. You can forget. I don't get the reasoning. Oh, it's convenient that she forgot. Well, that's the truth. I would think if my daughter meant to kill this kid prior to that accident, she would want to kill him now. And she hasn't shown any of that. For 3 months, I watched my kid cry herself to sleep, all beat up in bed, watching videos and music and pictures of this kid. For 3 months, I sat with her. Okay? The prosecution has no right saying she wasn't remorseful. There's no evidence that she wasn't.
What about the social media solicitations and what looked like she was trying to build her brand?
Yeah, and partying.
That she wasn't trying to build her brand. Where did that come from? That is just a fabrication and part of the narrative.
No,
she went to
But Steve, I'm just pointing out what they said she was doing on
that's
social
not true.
media and the DMs that they showed.
What DMs exactly did they show?
The DMs of her talking to different brands. Thank you for contacting me. I'm excited to work with you.
Oh, okay. She was in the process of becoming a model, so she was working with people. Okay, and a couple days after, she was supposed to do something with the modeling. And hold on.
Come on, Natalie, help him out.
That was something about a collaboration that was prior to the accident. That was something that was involved prior. It wasn't.
Guy doesn't even know.
Some of that's taken out of context. It's blown out of proportion. What is she supposed to dig a box or dig a hole and just hide in the hole the rest of her life after this?
No, but you could mourn him and, stay home and, just, not go out and dress up like a corpse and go party somewhere within 3 months, 4 months of the crash. Sorry, the murder. Sorry. I have a tendency to say that once in a blue moon. But I mean, really, her sitting there on her phone in a wheelchair with a little tiny triangle bikini top. I mean, really, girl? Have some respect. Have some respect.
No, but it was right after.
Well, what does that mean? So she's not allowed to live? She's lucky to be alive.
I'm not judging it, Steve. I'm telling you what is out there.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care.
Used for the narrative and giving you a chance to explain it or contest it. But that's the job.
But it's not true. It's not completely true.
I don't know whether or not it's true. I only know what was said. I'm asking you why it was said and what it means and why it is an indicative that she had a nonchalance right after this.
It's not nonchalance. It's life. It's life. 3 months later, okay, being that the police and the courts never took her license away, never charged her with any car, she had a job interview. So we let her drive 3 months after this thing. So we let her go to the interview, which she got the job. Because what is she supposed to not do anything the rest of her life over this? Is she supposed to just turn away and shut up and never do a word? Listen, everything that's happened after this accident, a lot of it's been blown out of proportion. And it's unfortunate that the internet is allowed to run rampant with their nonsense. Okay. I don't care what anybody says about me. I'm a big boy. I can take anything they say. I don't care. I really don't care. Unless you're in my boat, I don't care. Sorry. Say what you want. Make little memes, blah, blah, blah. Go crazy. Okay. I don't care. You have fun. Okay. You're the people out there are what's making this continue on and on and on. But the problem here isn't what I did. It's not what she did after the fact. It's what the court did to her. It's what the prosecution did to her. And it's the lack of evidence that is there. Now, black box information, sure. If you got the car did this, the car did it, put the car in jail. But you have no evidence of why. And you can't just say, well, the science says she was going fast, so that's intent. That is absolute BS. Okay. And many lawyers that we've spoke to have agreed with that. I would think,
but not the appellate court and not the Supreme Court. Oh, listen, hold on. I came into this saying to you, Steve, listen, I didn't cover this. Okay. And I didn't because, it was a tragic circumstance, but there are lots of tragic circumstances, and you got to make choices in my business.
Gotcha.
But now that I'm analyzing crimes, I gave it fresh eyes. And the fact that they didn't argue diminished capacity when she had THC in her system, the fact that they chose a bench trial, and the fact that they did not put on any significant case in chief for the defense is why the judge had the opportunity to decide as she did.
Yes, I agree with your assessment on what the lawyer did and did not do. I totally agree. Yeah, this is where our dilemma is. We need help fixing this because there was a problem here with the lawyer.
But you have new lawyers now. Why did the appellate court and the Supreme Court refuse to acknowledge all that you're saying?
Yep.
My understanding is
Right.
this is how it was. This is how it was addressed to me with the second set of lawyers that we got. That we're not going to get any relief in Cuyahoga County because that is how Cuyahoga County is. Okay, right, wrong, or whatever. I don't know why the appellate court brought to attention the illegal proceeding of changing that coroner's report, and then never did anything about it. Okay, I don't know. You have to ask them
because they didn't believe it was reversible error, meaning that. They may not have followed the strict procedure of how to do it, but the findings were there.
If it would have been a jury, it would have biased the jury. If the judge wasn't already biased, it would have biased the judge. That's where the problem goes. Mind you, I don't think it would have biased the judge because I believe she was already biased before she walked in that courtroom. And she said, "I don't have a blood relation," and that's to me is all it takes. She has other relationships with that family, and that's it. And nobody's going to tell me differently. In fact, when this first happened, we had heard on the internet, mind you, this is what I heard. Somebody sent a note or it was posted someplace that
I'm a buff baby that can dance like a man. I can shake him
Sorry.
like Danny, I can shake him like a. I'm a buff baby
What
that can
is
dance
that?
like a man. I can.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. That's his ring. Oh, well, that says a lot.
It's my phone. It's a phone ring. Anyway, sorry.
That's your ringtone.
It's for a friend of mine. It's a friend. Sorry, I don't mean to smile. I'm not making light of it.
Steve, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to go through these.
But I'm going to be judged. It's not you that I'm not that I'm worried about it. It's what I say and how it's going to be taken. This will be a meme somewhere else. I'm not smiling because I find this funny. I'm not smiling, and I find this asinine that this is going on. And not that I'm talking to you. Everything that's been said and done is just unbelievable, and just it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I just don't get it. And the real
I excuse him just a tiny bit for not wanting to believe that his daughter did this. Because you know what? The other option is to walk around knowing that your daughter killed two people. And that is super hard for any parent, right? The evidence is screaming, okay? And he's still not accepting it,
And it's just smoke and mirrors to hide the fact that my daughter was unjustly charged. And we can argue this till you're blue in the face until someone can
I'm not
show
arguing with you. I'm asking you for your perspective on it. Do you believe that your daughter has any responsibility for what happened?
She was driving. As a driver in Ohio, you have responsibility. Yes, she was a driver. But if she had a heart attack, hypothetical, if she had a heart attack in that car that caused this accident, is she
We'd have a very different situation.
Yeah.
Well,
not what it is, though.
I'm using it as an example.
Then it's an accident.
Okay, what if she did? What if we could prove that her POTS caused her to pass out and she seized in the cause?
Then it would be an accident.
What if we can prove that either one boy or the other boy did something in the car that caused the accident?
Then she would not have the intent, and maybe not the act to trigger a charge.
What if we can prove that the car malfunctioned? This is hypothetical. I'm not.
Then it was an accident.
Okay.
And maybe there's a case against the manufacturer.
Okay. So with those 4 things or 3 things that I've brought up here, the POTS, the car, the boys, the other, okay. One of those 4 or 5 things, or a combination of several, She wouldn't be responsible. Yes, she should have been charged with vehicular homicide. She's the driver of the car. She has the responsibility as the driver. Listen.
Yeah, except
if you can prove to me that she did this with intent and purpose, then she's right where she belongs. I get it.
That's what they get from the texts where she says, I feel like killing someone. I want to bang my head against it. Dom saying that he needs space. Her saying no.
Yes.
That's not proof of intent. That is.
Yes,
How many have you ever said to anybody, "Oh my God, I'm going to kill you"?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if they died, should you be charged with murder?
No, but I'd have to explain it.
Oh, okay.
It's
an analogy. I don't know how many times I've probably said, "Oh my God, I'm going to freaking kill you" over something stupid. It doesn't mean I'm going to kill you. And some of the stuff they used against her, like the thing that happened 2 weeks before, the supposed where she threatened to crash the car, that didn't happen. She did not threaten to crash that car.
How do you know?
Because we've got text messages that state otherwise. My understanding is that they had an argument in the car. Dominic grabbed the wheel and almost caused the car to crash. So my daughter pulled over, told him to get the hell out of the car. And then there's texts back and forth with Dominic's mother and my wife stating it. I could send those to you if you'd like to see them. They're in the,
sure.
They're in. Okay. I could send them to you. I can't.
They're out there.
Yeah, I know that. That is what happened. And then we got him apologizing, this and that. So he did that. That was not my daughter. And then Christine, in the process of my daughter saying, "Come get your kid or she's going to call me," she sent this guy named Christopher Martin to go fetch him. In the trial, Christopher Martin perjured himself, and he said that he went to get Dominic. He was driving, and I don't know how he got from where he was living to that car to get behind them. To hear her say that is a lie. What happened was they were already pulled over. Okay, Christopher Martin pulled up behind her. He says that he was on the phone with Dom. He was not on the phone with Dom, because in the interview that are on Crime Circus that the detective did with Christine Russo, she says, "I was on the phone with Dom until Christopher got there."
Right.
Okay. That's true. That happened. That is a fact. Okay. Christopher Martin lied. He said he pulled up while they were going. He was on the phone with Dom and he heard her say, "I'm going to crash this car." Then they pulled over. She was already pulled over. In the text messages that my wife and my sister-in-laws we got off her phone and then we got off my wife's phone state that. And the prosecution knew it and still put oh yeah. I mean, let me call him Hench, because this is the felon that lives in Christine Russo's basement. Okay. So a sitting judge took the word of a 7-time felon. And our lawyer did nothing to counter it, because
that's your problem.
I agree.
You say it now, but it didn't happen in trial.
I need all, and that's why we're arguing this. I should have been arguing this right from day one. This is where we need help. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for help because an injustice was done to my daughter. A witness perjured himself on the stand. How do I fix that? There's no way of fixing it, because I got a judge, because every appeal goes back to her court. It goes back to her court, and she gets to decide. And the reason she's not going to go against her, because her ego, okay? And she's biased. She's either biased, she's on the take, or she's incompetent.
Well, when you appeal,
Prove it.
it will go to other judges.
No,
and if
no,
they order a new trial,
it goes right back to her court. So if the appellate court would have said this is going to go back to trial, it goes back to Nancy Margaret Russo's courtroom.
Right, but then you would argue that she's got to recuse herself.
Well, and we did that at this trial because of the last name, and she said,
"I know, but that's
I
not
don't have a blood relation," which is a lie.
That's not a thing. I mean, there are a lot of people named Russo.
Yeah, but not in Cuyahoga County. They're all related, and I'm sorry if it's not with Christine Russo, it's with somebody else that's connected to her. Look, again. I have just as much proof that there's a conspiracy or a fix or a.
Didn't he just say, like maybe 5-10 minutes ago, that I'm heartbroken and would give my life for Devin and Dom? Meanwhile, he's bashing and victim blaming here. This is sick.
Favor that they had that my daughter did this with purpose. Sorry, that's it. And if you don't want to believe it, that's fine.
No, listen, it's not about what I believe. I'm here to give you an opportunity to say what you mean and to test why you believe it. And that's what I hope you understand that I'm doing. what just came out from what came out from TMZ,
A
where
lot.
they grabbed audio from prison phone calls, where Natalie is criticizing the family of
This is bad.
Dom's family,
Yeah,
calling
she
them
is.
evil. What is that about?
Let's see.
Yeah.
For 4 years, there hasn't been a peep out of them for the most part. My understanding, there's a half sister, a Christine Russo Jr., and I don't want to talk bad about the family at all. I understand their anger and I understand they lost somebody, but to go online and badmouth anyone who's defending my daughter makes them look bad to me. Okay. And my wife was talking to my daughter, and it was a private conversation. I must say it's a private conversation. It's a conversation between my wife and my daughter. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. And if she, and it's unfortunate that the Russo family or others have been saying the stuff they're saying. Again, nobody knows my wife. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows my daughter. And the make past judgment on us is just narrow-minded nonsense from internet trolls. I mean, hey, make your podcast, say what you want. Again, it's unfortunate. And like I said, I feel for the families. I don't know what they want me to do. Should I wear a black dress and a veil the rest of my life? Look, I'm sorry Dominic and Davion passed away in this accident. And that is all this was an accident. And it's unfortunate and it's tragic.
Wow.
And I can't imagine their pain in that. I can't. I'm sorry. But at some point, I have to defend my daughter. My daughter who was wrongly convicted. If she would have been charged with vehicular homicide and put in 5 years or whatever, then she got what she deserved. There's no proof to change that. Vehicular homicide is when someone dies when you're in a car accident, and there's no other answer. And there is no other answer in this case. Just because you want it to be murder doesn't mean that it is. Just because you don't like my daughter doesn't mean she's guilty of murder. Just because you don't like what you see on the internet about my daughter doesn't mean that it's murder.
It's way more than that,
That's
Steve.
speculation. That is reckless speculation on anybody's part. Mind you, I don't know what happened. I don't. I wasn't in the car. And unless you were in that car, you have no business saying you know what happened. Tim Troop, the prosecutor, in that video said, I ruled everything out. Ruled what out? He didn't. What evidence did you use to rule things out? He was going for one thing and one thing only. The detective, 3 or 4 days later, had one idea what it was. He wasn't looking anywhere else. He wasn't finding any other information. Okay, that's not. The detective had a one-track mind. And the detective on the stand said, I don't know what happened. And the lead prosecutor, Michael Malley, is on camera saying, nobody will ever know what happened. So if at the three main people finding the evidence don't know what happened, how do you charge somebody? I don't, speculation.
Because they don't know every single detail, like about what they argued about, but they know enough to know that it was intentional on her part. And he keeps forgetting that. Okay. There isn't a murder out there. Okay. Name a murder where we know every single detail. No, we don't. We don't know every single thing. We go by the evidence. And when the evidence is overwhelming and it leads to, without a shadow of a doubt, that she intentionally drove that car in that resulted in their death, it is murder. And the judge saw that.
Is not evidence. It's guessing.
Speculation is not evidence, but probable cause is a very low standard. And they definitely had probable cause to charge. Beyond a reasonable doubt is a different standard. And the judge found it, and then you have the right to appeal, and the
judge ignored
court upheld it.
She didn't found it; she ignored it. She outright ignored it. Okay. When my understanding, when her lawyer tried to object to things, she just overruled. Is it overruled? When she?
Yes.
Okay. She overruled almost everything he objected to. Look, I don't know if he was just. I don't know what he did. I don't. Hindsight with him, I just wish I would have chose a different lawyer. I wish I would have chose a different set of lawyers the second time for the appel. I don't know how, as a lawyer, you don't know how to read a calendar. Mind you, I don't think it was late. I don't think it was a day late. I don't think the second set of lawyers did a bad job. I think they were right on what they were saying. But for the prosecution to say it was a day late in a leap year when my lawyer didn't have all the transcripts available to him that were asked, and there's no leeway. Oh, it was late, so that's it. It's unfortunate.
Are you open to not being able to see this any other way because this is the love of your life?
Listen, I'm her father. I'm biased. It's my daughter. Any parent should be this way. But if you can show me actual evidence, not speculation, that my daughter did this with purpose, intent, or prior calculation, then she is right where she belongs. Now, the bind-over judge, the juvenile judge.
The intent is found by, this is what the judge said, the intent is found by the lack of her trying to do anything to avoid it and doing what caused it.
For 4 seconds in a car that was already out of control, that had side airbags going off. Yeah, that's all the information you got. We don't know. Nobody knows why. Everybody keeps going back, well, the car was, you don't have any evidence from 4.74 seconds back to that first turn.
Right. We just disagree on what that amount of time can reveal at that rate of acceleration, which I think is a lot, and you say not enough.
Our car guy said that
I think as you get closer to the wall, you're approaching that wall, you're seeing it coming towards you super fast. It'd be a natural reflex if you did not want to hurt anybody to your foot to go down on the brake pedal, even just a little bit, and it didn't. You know what I mean? So the last 5 seconds are more telling to me than anything that happened before the last 5 seconds.
the car was going fast. The car thought it was flipping over. The recorder went on. The airbags went off. The car hit the sign, veered into the wall. She did not drive directly into that wall. Okay, mind you, I think she just lost whatever was going on in the car. She lost track on that road. That's what I find more believable than what the prosecution's narrative of the story was. It makes more sense to me. And we also have a medical examiner that looked at her blood work and her stuff that said so much that it was probably a medical episode with POTS. We've got that. And that was in the
I think you had a better chance of arguing before a jury, at least, that it had something to do not with POTS, but pot, because of the THC content that she had in her blood, and arguing diminished capacity and whatever else she could relay about the events. But that's not how it went.
Well, she doesn't remember the events, so that's
what she says.
Conveniently.
Okay, so that's what she says. So nobody knows what happened in that car. I can't make her remember. And mind you, she's never wavered in that statement. Why? If you knew you were going to jail for life, wouldn't you lie? Wouldn't you come up with at least a story?
If I killed two people, I would say, I don't remember. I would.
There's no witnesses. She's the only witness. Dominic Russo, Davian Flanagan attacked me in the car. I passed out. Someone hit me.
I can't explain it, but it certainly worked against her. I'll give you that.
Absolutely, because her lawyer did nothing for her, and I this is why I feel it's a conspiracy. That's why I feel she was railroaded. This is why, look, Tim Troop and Christine Russo are friends. Christine Russo worked in the prosecutor's office. She knows that she worked there. Don't tell me there's no favors, and don't tell me there's no relationship. I'm not saying blood. I'm saying relationship. There is a friend of something with the Russo family and that judge. And she can say, I don't have a blood relationship all the time. The grand jury judge was a Russo. The bindover judge was an O'Malley. The head prosecutor is an O'Malley.
I know, but just because they have the same names doesn't mean the same thing. But I want to go back over one thing, Steve, just so it's a little clear for people, because it got a little convoluted. The text chain, and you have a lot of information and context about it. This one particular part of Dominic's mother, July 17, 2022. It starts, you know all this already, but for the audience, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin out my car and hurt me. I'm scared to drive because it's raining, so I just need him to get picked up. If he doesn't get out of my car, I'm calling my dad, so please get him out. Hench is on his way. Calm down for something, for whatever. For now, please. To be honest, I can't calm down when he just tried to end my life. Then he lied to you about it. I'm not trying to diffuse for now. I'm not mad at anyone. And then the next one is, just to give everybody the record, I don't think he's capable of that. This is your daughter, I believe, when he keeps telling me to shut up and to duct tape my mouth. I don't feel safe. He is also threatening to blackmail me to my mom. He's not getting out of the car. He also blocked me, so I can't go pick up any of my belongings at his house. I hope this is a learning experience for him on what not to do when to a woman, because I really don't think he knows how to treat them at all. Stop the fighting and stop lying. When he gets his things, you can get yours. And then there's one more.
She is lying.
First of all, I'm not lying about anything. Maybe you shouldn't take his word so seriously. You don't know how he treats me behind closed doors. It's never okay to try to end somebody's life or put their hands on people. No one should touch anyone. No fighting for sure in the car. He never put his hands on you. This is the mom. You need to tell him that. He tried to end my life today and told me, do you want to die? I almost hit the wall and I could have died. And she says, and you haven't blackmailed him with the cops 100 times? This was a
All right, I want to say something about that. Those are all lies, guys. That's her being mad and her like, I'm going to text your mom right now and I'm going to tell him this because she didn't like whatever Dom was saying to her, because there's a history of that. After those text messages, there are other text messages where she tries to bring this up to Dom again, where she's like, you tried to end my life. And here's the funny thing. He keeps responding with, what are you talking about? Like, he's like, look, this is paraphrasing. I don't have the exact words, but he never, in private moments after that, where they had calmed down and she brings it up again, he never says anything like, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Nothing like that. I mean, for them to stay together, he would have had to at least acknowledge that. But no, their relationship went on like it was just fine. And history shows that she says like crazy, outlandish things when she is very, very mad. So I am sorry. That was all lies. Don't you believe a second of that, because there is nothing to show that he's ever done something like that, ever. But there is things to show, right, that she is the one who's crazy. Absolutely. Absolutely crazy.
a shitty relationship.
It was, mind you, I
Getting
don't like
married.
the word volatile. They were.
That was it. That's a shitty relationship, Steve.
Yep.
That's what the mother of the boyfriend and your daughter.
That's a shitty moment in a relationship. That is not how the whole relationship went. That was an everyday thing. That's a fight. That's a fight amongst young kids who don't know any better. And mind you, I'm not saying it doesn't correlate to this. It doesn't mean the whole relationship was bad. I watched this kid take my daughter to dinner. I watched him come over and cook for her. He went on vacation with us. He was at all our family functions.
Okay.
This kid treated my wife with respect. He treated me with respect. Now, I'm the dad and I'm always the last one to know.
Yeah.
I ended up having to go over to the house and get his stuff. And if I'd have known what had happened, there may have been bigger issues. But I didn't know this happened till after the accident. You know, what you just read, that back and forth. There'd be more to this, but Christine Russo lawyered up Dominic's phone so the police couldn't get anything off of it. And I don't know why she lawyered up that phone that way. So,
and that was Mackenzie, obviously, not your wife. That was Mackenzie and Dom's mom.
Yes, that's off of Mackenzie's phone. But there's also more with Mackenzie talking to my wife too about it.
Okay.
There's
a lot
to it.
more
So
text messages.
It's Mackenzie talk. It's the text thread from Mackenzie talking to Dominic's mom, and there's a text thread of Mackenzie talking to my wife. So that the events that they used in trial didn't happen. That's Christopher Martin, aka Hench, because he gets things done, lied in court. He lied, and again, there's nothing I can do about it because the lawyer didn't do what he was supposed to do. And what am I supposed to do? Unfortunately, my daughter gets hurt by what the lawyer she had. The first lawyer did nothing for her. The lawyer strong-armed her into having a bench trial over jury. How do I fix that? His bad decisions, his inability to defend her hurt my daughter. Now, the second set of lawyers being late, either it was or it wasn't, Okay. Hurt my daughter. The law firm doesn't get a slap on the wrist. They don't get fined. They get away scot-free. You know who suffers? My daughter. And if that could have got in, maybe she would be freed. Maybe she would have got another trial. Okay. Now you asked the question about the process of the appeal, the state level, the Ohio State Appellate Court looks at that much. They don't look at anything really. The second set of lawyers says if we're going to get any relief in this court or in the courts, it's going to be at the federal level. That's what was expressed to us. We weren't going to get anywhere in Cuyahoga County because how Cuyahoga County works, and I don't want to call them corrupt, but wink, wink. The state only looks at a few things, and in a year, and so we have to wait to get to the federal. I got to get it away from elected officials, and that's what our lawyers suggested to us. We have to get it away from the elected officials or the elected seats on the court. So, like, again, I understand there's 4.74 seconds of black box information, and it's nonlinear, and it shows that she didn't brake supposedly, and it shows that the gas pedal was down and that the car was going fast. I get it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't tell me why. And why is way more important than, well, the car was doing this. That black box doesn't say why. It never will. It just never will. And I'm sorry if that upsets the families. And I'm sorry if it upsets the families that we're trying to defend and free our daughter. That's my job as a parent. I love my kid. Okay. Yeah. Am I being biased? No, because I got enough common sense to look at the facts. And I've looked at everything, and I've reread it and gone over it and talked to this person or talked to that person, hashed this out. We are looking for help. We are looking for anyone that can help us. Okay. I'm sorry. I feel my daughter was unjustly charged. She was unjustly tried, and she was,
yeah. It's almost over.
I believe the judge made an error. I don't believe the judge acted in good faith. I think there's judicial misconduct in this case.
Well, you can think it, but the standard is whether or not you can prove it. And it has not been done with any measure of satisfaction.
And I think some of it I can prove, and if you don't have evidence,
but then you'll do it in court. That's the only place it counts.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get it back in court.
Have you done anything to try to get Mackenzie's memory restored? Have you ever tried any hypnosis or had her work with a memory specialist?
I'm going to say TMZ. Good old Harvey wants to. We talked about that. I don't know if that's going to do any good. Sure.
It won't.
If they want to try that and she's up to it and her lawyer's up to it, fine. I have nothing to hide. And I don't believe she does either. I believe she truly doesn't remember. I know my daughter, and I know when she's not telling the truth. I can see it in her face. There's something in her expression, something in her eyes. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to vilify my daughter.
I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to. I'm just giving you what I did this for, Steve, is I agree with you that I don't think that the case was about why to the satisfaction of anybody. It's easy to draw conclusions. That's the nature. That's the nature of humanity, is people judge. But I wanted to give people an opportunity to understand this in a different way and have a new set of questions. And that's why I wanted to give you the opportunity.
We're going to get some. They're going to look at this subjectively or objectively. And that's all I'm asking people to do. I don't want to change anybody's mind. I don't want my opinion out of your mouth. I want you to go look at what I'm talking about. And if I'm telling you that the detective from Strongsville on camera, on an audio record, he says, I am not putting this in evidence. When Dominic Russo's mom says, no one's going to see this, right? To me, that's an issue. That's an issue of misconduct. That is an admission of admittance. When the lead detective who found all this evidence or the speculation or this whatever says, I don't know what happened. How do you charge somebody on I don't know what happened? You got a lead prosecutor on camera saying nobody knows what really happened. They don't know what happened. You got the prosecutor in the documentary in between his reflecting picture, his glory picture and him walking down the hall, says, we ruled everything else out. I want to know how and what evidence they use to rule everything else out. They did.
I get what you're saying.
Wow.
And if you get a habeas corpus and federal relief and they take the case, you'll have another opportunity for your lawyers to make this. But that's what the trial was for. The trial was to vet what the prosecution put up as proof.
I get it.
And why?
Well, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. And,
that's right.
And I'm going to say, even though my hindsight is 20/20 with Jim McDonald, the lawyer, I would hope that he looked at the evidence as a lawyer and saw there's nothing here. They don't have a case of purpose or prior.
Well, look, I'm happy to talk to him about it.
No, he won't talk to you. This is going to make him look bad, and he's going to lose business.
But the only reason to go for a bench trial here is because you believe it's a technical case and that you can win on the data and that the judge will understand it in a way that a jury may not. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I wish I would have known that before it was done. I wish I would have had if I'd have known we can get that changed, I would have been all over my daughter telling her. I was surprised when it came back to me that, mind you, and I didn't find out that he argued with her, or you're going against my better judgment. And this guy's a big guy. My daughter is 90 pounds, 100 pounds wet. Okay. She just turned 18. You know, she's a kid. She's still a kid. And they have this big burly man.
She don't normally look like that.
Argue with her that, it's a bad idea. I'm sorry. They would have never found 12 people to buy the prosecution's case.
Well, you're not going to know now. I mean, unless you get a retrial, because that was the decision that you guys made.
That's my problem with this. There's so many things I feel were done wrong to my daughter. I believe there's an injustice with how the lawyer acted. I believe there's an injustice how the detective omitted evidence and is on camera saying he's going to do as much. I have a problem with how the appellate court brought attention to an illegal proceeding and then did nothing about it. And the argument was it wouldn't have mattered. You don't know if it would matter unless it goes back to court. And you can't just say, well, it wouldn't have mattered. And for something to be a day late with a leap year and trial transcripts not getting there on time, that should have been taken into consideration. But again, I believe the appellate courts were just protecting one of their own. And that's my understanding of how Howard County works.
Again, so you can feel any way you want. Administration of justice is about only knowing what we can show. And I'm happy to offer you the opportunity now and going forward, Steve, with whatever happens next.
But they didn't show any evidence of purpose. There's none. And the
They
evidence
didn't
they
need- they didn't need anything
is a
else.
lie. It's sorry. What do you? I mean, I don't know what everybody else wants me to say.
Steve, I don't want you to say anything. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say what you think and why.
And I am saying why and what. Okay.
I got it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Like I said, I get what you're doing, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the platform for it. But it is what it is. And again, until you can show me actual evidence, then I'm not going to believe it. Her mother's not going to believe it. Her family, my friends, and if the rest of the world wants to think she's guilty and hell on wheels and blah blah blah, hey, knock yourselves out. Okay. What do you want me to do?
All that matters in these situations is what the justice system says.
Yeah, well, the justice system
not the people online. No, but Steve,
again, the justice system
I am
wrong.
A call away for whatever happens next. And I will do just like I did here. I know it's not comfortable to be tested on these things, but that's the job. And I'll offer the opportunity whenever you want.
I appreciate that. And and if more comes out, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. But like I said, if you want to vilify me for backing my daughter, go. Well, I can't stop you. Go crazy. Okay.
Steve, what it's going to be is what you and I just experienced here. That's what I'm putting out. Okay.
Great. Yep.
All right. Thank you for taking the opportunity. Thank your wife as well. And again, make sure she knows I wasn't boxing her out from this.
No, I know. Well, she didn't want to be on camera.
That's fine. That's fine. That's her choice.
I wonder why.
Okay?
And I appreciate your time offering me this time. Thanks.
Steve.
Okay. So I want to say one thing before we go. There's another daughter of this family, and it's unfortunate. You know, she's younger and just, entering adulthood now. I'm very, very worried about that girl. But here's the thing that I thought of. Can you imagine if this other daughter has her own beef with the way her parents have handled things? And if that girl ever comes forward and speaks or ever gives an interview, that is going to be the most insightful interview of probably the decade, right? I mean, I certainly am not, I know that I don't even know if she lives with them anymore. Does anybody know if she lives with them anymore? I have no idea. But I do know that there was a text message at one point where allegedly CPS was threatening to come and possibly take her away. That's what I have in the FOIA request, but it never had like a timestamp on it. It never, it never even said who it was from, but it was definitely, in my opinion, based on what I was reading, it had to do with Natalie and Mackenzie talking. And Mackenzie's like, "What, Mom? What? Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're sending CPS over here." And my impression is that was because there was a younger daughter in the house. And with everything regarding drugs and the bullying and drinking and allowing your boyfriend to sleep in your daughter's bedroom, it's just, that is right there. It's enough for CPS to come knocking on the door and taking your child away. So I just want to say that I hope that everybody's praying for this girl and nobody doxes her or goes after her in any way, because, her life, I feel so horrible for her right now, because she is the sister of Mackenzie and the daughter of Natalie and Steve. And I just cannot imagine what life is like for her right now. Can she even go about and out and about in her town? You know what I mean? Hopefully she's staying with family or maybe with a friend and is, staying far away right now. I certainly don't condone her not to have a relationship with her parents, because, that's her mom and dad. But maybe for a little while, I have heard that too. I don't want to say it on here, but yeah, I did. I have heard that about the daughter as well. I do think Chris Cuomo's interview is the best one yet. I do think he asked challenging questions, and there was a lot of pushback. So I think it was a really good interview. I think Steve is falling apart. I really do. And I would not be surprised if he's done giving interviews. I think that was probably the last one. I could be wrong. He might keep going. But, thank you for being here with me today. Some of you may have already seen the video. Go ahead and comment below. Had you seen it already, or did you see it for the first time here? I'm just curious. But it was the first time for me, and I wanted to do a live reaction to the video. So I do appreciate you guys being here with me. Smash that like button for me right now. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to Moms for Justice. I have 2 videos coming soon. I'm going to be doing one on Dom's mom and Mackenzie's text messages soon. And I'm also going to be doing one on the free Mackenzie Shirilla page. That is quite the storm right now. There is an influx of people that are supporting Mackenzie Shirilla. And some of the stuff that they are writing is absolutely disgusting. And we're going to do a whole video on that. And I'm going to go ahead and debunk them, and you guys can help me debunk them, but we're going to do it. We're going to dissect some of the things that they're saying on there. And there's no way for them to know what my screen name is that's on there, so they can't ban me off of there. But, and then the other one is going to be on Dom's mom and Mackenzie, because I think those text messages are very, very interesting and insightful. So we will do that. Thank you for joining me today. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for being part of my community. You're all so amazing. I really do appreciate it. God bless you all. Have a great, great Sunday night.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.